SCP-2057 is called You Are What You Eat. I don't know what this is eating, but it looks like Popeye's got a can of spinach but turning into some sort of mutated animal pterodactyl. So we gonna find out in this one, guys. It's by Dr. Bob. Make sure to subscribe to him. Subscribe to me if you enjoy reactions. Let's do this.
The boy screams as his body transforms. His bones warp and twist as feathers emerge from his pores.
Oh no!
His skull sharpens into a long,
He's turning
hard
into a
beak.
bird?
He's in a living nightmare. And who could have guessed it all started with an innocent attempt to play hooky? It's an ordinary Monday morning, and all over town, children are waking up and reluctantly dragging themselves out of bed for school.
Oh, I used to hate
Some are oversleeping, hitting the snooze on their alarms, and getting a bit of extra shut-eye before their exhausted parents notice, wake them up, and rush to get them to school before the first morning bell.
Snooze button, bruh.
In one particular bedroom, a young boy is awake but still in bed, brainstorming as fast as he can.
Heartwarming
He is
music right now.
determined to skip school today however he can. He usually doesn't mind school very
Just
much,
pretend that
but
you're
today, all he can think about is the math test he didn't study for, and a mean classmate who likes to knock his books out of his hands. But he can't just ask to skip school for no reason. He has to come up with a plan.
Yeah.
He runs to the bathroom, splashing hot water in his face to give him a flushed appearance and a warm forehead.
Fever?
Then he hops back into bed and begins to loudly cough and sniffle until his mother comes to check on him. He complains that he doesn't feel well enough to go to school, and sure enough, when his mother feels his forehead, it's hot to the touch.
Right.
She agrees to let him stay home from school for the day, provided he stays in bed and gets plenty of rest. He promises that he will, and she leaves to go to work.
Mom's
on her way to
going for the
work,
day?
the boy's mother remembers that there isn't much for him to eat while he's home alone all day. At least, there isn't much that he would want to eat while he's sick.
Right.
She decides that she can be a little bit late to work for the sake of her son's health, and pulls into a nearby grocery store. She rushes out of her car and into the store, making a beeline for the soup aisle. She reaches for her usual go-to brand of chicken noodle soup, but finds the shelf completely bare.
Out of stuff.
That's right, it's flu season. Of course, the soup is sold out. Oh, great. This is exactly what she needs.
Get the dried mix,
a
man,
sick
or
kid
make
at
you
home,
some homemade.
one can of chicken noodle soup left at the store,
to
and the machine won't even scan it. She smacks the side of the machine in frustration, and the screen reads, "Invalid code. Transaction canceled." With a heavy sigh, she glances over her shoulder. No one is watching.
Of course.
She tried to pay for the can to do the right thing, but the machine wouldn't let her. So she grabs the can and runs out of the store before anyone can spot her.
Wow.
While his mother is out, the boy is at home raiding the pantry for snacks to sate his not at all sick appetite. He fills up on Oreos and toaster pastries, cheesy crackers, and chips. When he hears his mother's car pulling into the driveway, he quickly wipes the crumbs from his face and jumps back into bed, just in time for his mother to find him there, resting like he promised he would. She gives him a kiss on the forehead and tells him that she'll heat up some chicken noodle soup for him to eat. She's in a hurry to make it to work, though, so she'll need to leave it in the microwave for him. She pours the contents of the soup into a bowl, adds a bit of water, and pops the bowl into the microwave for a few minutes. She calls up to her son, letting him know that the soup will be ready when the microwave dings.
I like it strong,
Then she rushes out the door and heads to work for the day, confident that her son will be fine through her shift.
Real hot.
If he happens to need anything, he can call her and let her know. The boy hears the microwave ding, but his stomach is too full from his rummage through the pantry for him to want any of the soup, in spite of its heavenly aroma. Instead, he creeps into the living room and sits down to play video games until his eyes start to hurt. As he boots up his gaming system, he thinks for a moment that he can hear a strange noise coming from the kitchen. A soft, clucking sound, like the chickens he saw on his grandparents' farm. But he quickly forgets about the sound as the screen lights up and disappears into the world of his favorite game. He plays for hours until the grumbling of his stomach interrupts his concentration.
There you go.
He's suddenly very hungry and remembers the soup his mother left in the microwave.
Like a poo-poo growl, boy.
It is certainly cold and unappealing by now, but he can just reheat it first. He punches the buttons on the microwave and waits for the soup to be ready. Again, he can hear strange noises coming from the microwave, but he doesn't think anything of it.
You bet.
The microwave dings, and he pulls out the bowl of soup, grabs a spoon, and digs in.
That bowl of soup was just
a little while later, the boy's mother pulls into the driveway in a panic. She left work early when her phone rang with a call from her son. She answered, asking what was wrong, but he wouldn't answer her. All she could hear on the other end was rustling, heavy breathing, and some pained grunting. Fearing the worst, she drove back as fast as she could, running several red lights along the way. Now she fumbles with her keys as she unlocks the door, terrified of what she will find. She grips her phone in her other
Mama's a
hand,
badass,
thumb
man.
hovering over the buttons, ready to dial 911 if the situation calls for it. She pushes the front door open,
better dial
calling her
SCP.
son's name. He doesn't answer, and her stomach drops.
Better dial the foundation.
Suddenly, she hears the loud thud of something heavy being knocked to the ground. Something
Chicken.
is terribly wrong here.
A giant
and
chicken?
even though she might find her worst nightmare, she has to face whatever is waiting for her inside. She runs into the kitchen and finds it a mess. The bowl of soup is shattered on the floor, congealed, cold soup pooling on the tile.
Huh.
The kitchen table is turned over on its
Feathers
side.
everywhere.
The kitchen chairs are in disarray.
My boy turned
But
into
the
a chicken.
strangest sight is the dozens of tiny, white, fluffy things on the floor, counters, and furniture.
My boy
She
shit.
picks one up for a closer look and finds herself even more confused than before. It's a feather. They're all feathers. She calls her son's name again, praying for a response. This time, she receives one, though not the one she hopes for. She hears the sound of shuffling footsteps up above, followed by a strangled sound like a scream caught in someone's throat.
Oh,
She sprints up the stairs as fast as her legs can carry her, throwing open the door to her son's bedroom. There, she finds him.
giant chicken.
This is not the bright-eyed boy that she left behind when she left for work. His arms are covered with a thick layer of white feathers, the same feathers that are
So he's
beginning
still
to poke through the skin of his
recognizable?
face. The top of his head has elongated into a floppy comb of excess skin, the same sort of excess skin that is wobbling below his chin. And his mouth.
God.
It doesn't look like a mouth anymore. It's pointed and hard, and his lips click together when he speaks, or rather, clucks.
Clucks.
His bare feet are scaly and red, with claws protruding from his toes. He flaps his wings frantically, eyes wide and wild,
He still has the
clucking
shirt
and running
on.
back and forth across the room. When he looks at her, she does not see recognition in his gaze. Her son, her beloved boy, has turned into a chicken. Unable to do anything else, the mother calls an ambulance. At first, the paramedics that arrive on the scene think the call was some sort of elaborate prank.
Right.
When they set eyes on the boy, they agree that something truly bizarre is
You
going
better
on.
call the foundation.
They speed to the hospital with the chicken boy in tow, but sadly are unable to save his life.
He
The mother
died?
turns over the can of the mysterious soup to the authorities, who launch a formal investigation.
Oh, I guess.
Unfortunately, they are
Get the
unable to
FDA
trace the can
involved,
to
man.
any store, nor are they able to verify the existence of the company name on its label. Employees of the grocery store where she found the can insist
Marshall
that they have
Carter and
never
Dark,
seen it
maybe?
in their lives. Several
Are we
weeks
cool
after this
yet?
incident occurred,
Culinary
the
edition?
SCP Foundation conducted a raid on a New York office of Marshall, Carter, and Dark.
Ah!
For those of you unfamiliar with the organization, and that is most of the general population by
knew
design, Marshall, Carter, and Dark Ltd. is an extremely powerful multinational corporation
Yup.
founded by 3 individuals with those surnames, specializing in the acquisition and sale of anomalous items, entities, and experiences.
I didn't know about
To put it simply,
experiences.
they run the largest anomalous black market in the world
Yo.
and are the crime bosses of the paranormal world. During this particular
The
raid,
mafia was
SCP
bad.
Foundation operatives
Mafia
recovered
ain't got
17 different unusual items. Among the items discovered was a shipping crate, recently delivered by the Federal Postal Service from an invalid return address. This crate contained 103 cans of SCP-2057, as well as a copy of a letter written to one of the company's associates. So far, the letter has not been traced to an address.
What's it
It
read?
reads, Dear Cyrus, Maria has told me of the unfortunate circumstances that have befallen your children.
Dang.
I'd hope to hear about the improvement of their condition soon. As their godfather, I am extremely distressed to hear this. Having experienced a child suffering from the measles myself, I know how terrifying it can be when it seems as if they are getting worse. Recently, we received a shipment of something that I hope can help your family.
Wow.
There is a crate in the storage area marked with
Wondertainment discontinued item.
It will
Wow.
not be there long, as it goes to auction next week. I will leave a key under the photo of your family on your desk. Follow the instructions exactly.
Oh.
Do not, under any circumstances, do anything different than what is directed on the can.
Oh,
Destroy this
so you
message
gotta
as soon as possible.
Do the special
I do
instructions.
not want any of this to come back on us.
Stovetop, maybe?
Be careful, my friend.
Instead of microwave?
Williams.
Air fry something?
SCP-2057 consists of 92 318 milliliter cans of condensed chicken noodle soup. Each can is covered with a brightly colored label depicting images of noodles, a cartoon chicken, and dancing vegetables.
Yeah, of course.
In addition to this inviting imagery, each label is emblazoned with the text, Dr. Wondertainment's Ultralicious Chicken Noodle Soup for Kids.
Ultralicious.
Each can has a pull-top lid for easy opening. It is printed with a set of nutrition facts, ingredients, and instructions for heating.
All
The
right.
nutrition facts are as follows. Calories, 95. Fat, 3.17 grams.
Not bad at all.
Carbohydrates, 2.2 grams. Protein, 13.48 grams.
Really good.
Vitamin W, 2 grams.
Vitamin
and
W.
Mother's Love, 10 grams.
Mother's Love?
The SCP Foundation attempted to analyze the contents of
How'd
the
you
soup in order
extract
to
that?
compare it to the posted nutrition facts. The calories, fat, carbohydrates, and protein were found to be accurately reported. Vitamin W was present in the reported amount as well, though it was not a compound that the Foundation scientists had ever
Right.
encountered before. Mother's Love, as it is an intangible concept, was not able to be identified or measured in analyzed soup samples. The ingredients are listed
Weird.
as Ultralicious
Ultralicious
chicken
chicken
stock,
stock.
enriched Chinese egg noodles, finest cooked chicken breast, farm fresh carrots, crispy crunchy celery, sweet Vidalia onions,
Sweet Vidalia.
no paint thinner, fresh mountain spring water, vitamin W. Contains less than 2% of the following ingredients: a pinch of salt, a smidgen of chicken fat, sprinkle of spice extracted from rare plants, a dash of high-quality unicorn tears.
Wow.
The instructions for
High
heating
quality.
read, "Hey kids, feeling sick, icky, or downright yucky? Just pop open a can of Dr. Wondertainment's Ultralicious chicken noodle soup for kids. Place contents of the can in a medium-sized
Let's
soup
trademark
pot.
it.
Add a can of water, stir, and heat. Watch as the fun begins. Eat
Gotta
hearty,
be
and
on
you'll feel
stovetop.
better and ready to play with Dr. Wondertainment toys
Can't
in no
microwave it.
time." All of this is relatively straightforward, give or take a few unusual ingredients. Someone taking only a
Unicorn
quick
tears?
look might mistake a can of this soup for any other chicken noodle soup.
Right.
However, it does have something that most ordinary canned soup does not: a warning label. Dr. Wondertainment's Ultralicious chicken noodle soup for kids is intended to be eaten while it is hot to make you feel better in no time at all. Do not consume after it has become cold.
So
Do
when
not
it gets
reheat.
cold,
By purchasing from Dr. Wondertainment, you agree to not hold Dr. Wondertainment or any of Dr. Wondertainment's affiliates
Oh,
accountable
God, a
for injuries or
disclaimer.
damages incurred by your product.
wow.
Thank you for purchasing from Dr. Wondertainment. So what exactly is in a can of Dr. Wondertainment's
Yeah,
Ultralicious
what
chicken
is
noodle soup for
vitamin
kids?
W?
Well, when the SCP Foundation first opened a can to take a look, they found that it was filled with condensed chicken broth and a mass of egg noodles shaped like an egg. When water was added and the contents of the can were heated to a temperature of 70 degrees Celsius, the noodle-based egg hatched. Inside was a small domesticated chicken made up of egg noodles, carrot, celery, onion, and cooked chicken breast. For simplicity's sake,
That's what
this
was
chicken
cooking?
noodle soup chicken is referred to as SCP-2057-1.
All right.
As the Foundation researchers continued to heat the broth to a higher temperature, SCP-2057-1 began to move around, make audible chirping sounds, and eat the broth.
That's what
As
was.
it ate, it grew larger and larger until it reached a mass of 85 grams and resembled a miniature adult chicken.
That's what was
At
clucking
a temperature
in the
between 35 and 70 degrees Celsius, SCP-2057-1 behaved much like an ordinary chicken.
regular. Oh,
It continued to behave normally even
the
as it
later-
was consumed or cut apart, apparently feeling no pain or awareness of its situation.
made it declassified.
Dissection of SCP-2057-1 revealed that its insides were made up of soup ingredients, including celery and onion bones, cooked chicken breast muscles, carrot beak and legs, and chicken broth blood. When SCP-2057-1's temperature dropped below 35 degrees Celsius, it stopped moving and collapsed into the soup. At a temperature below 20 degrees Celsius, it became congealed and unappetizing. With these observations completed, the Foundation then attempted to measure the effects of this unusual chicken soup on a person that ingested it.
Okay.
When test subjects were fed samples of the soup at a temperature between 35 and 70 degrees Celsius, they had a very positive experience.
Right.
The soup's taste was described as excellent,
Excellent.
delicious, and
Delicious.
homey.
Homie.
Though the meal caused a bit of psychological distress due to the soup chicken's realistic appearance
Right.
and behavior, it improved every test subject's physical well-being. This eventually applied to test subjects with a case of influenza, measles, or the common cold.
Wow.
Following consumption of SCP-2057, each subject with a diagnosed illness of this kind reported immediate relief from their symptoms, including
Dang.
fever, aches and pains, cough, and congestion.
I don't think the side effects
With
are worth
this
it,
positive, if a bit disturbing, effect documented, the Foundation next set out to determine what would happen if they let the soup get cold before it was
though.
eaten.
Oh, poor declass.
Test subjects served this version of the soup had a far worse experience,
Yuck.
describing the taste of their meal as bland, disgusting, and repulsive. 67% of the test subjects experienced cramps, chills, and diarrhea following their consumption of the soup.
Dang.
And 62% found themselves making involuntary clucking noises, as well as experiencing a strong aversion to poultry
Not
products.
your typical food
Again, several
poisoning.
test subjects were deliberately selected based on their cases of influenza, measles, and the common cold.
Right.
These test subjects immediately began to develop troubling symptoms, including the growth of pin feathers on their forearms, loosened excess skin on their heads and under their chins, a change in their ability to walk normally, and
Distressing
hallucinations of being hung upside down by the ankles.
Oh God.
Following these 2 rounds of testing, the research team decided to see why exactly the warning label advised against reheating the soup. D-Class 45782 was selected as the test subject for this particular experiment, and was instructed to reheat a bowl of cooled SCP-2057-1 in a microwave on high for 2 minutes and 30 seconds. Then, he was to consume the reheated soup and report his experience to a camera placed in the room with him. As instructed, D45782 microwaved the bowl of soup. As it heated in the microwave, it emitted unintelligible vocalizations in a deep voice. After removing the bowl from the microwave, D45782 noted that it was gelatinous looking, with blackened burnt bits around the edges. He took 3 bites of the disgusting, hot and cold at the same time mixture before spitting it out onto the floor and refusing to eat another bite. 15 minutes after tasting the reheated soup, D45872 began to exhibit significant distress, clucking angrily into the camera. 5 minutes later, D45872 became more difficult to understand, clucks and other chicken-like vocalizations making up most of his attempted speech. He began scratching vigorously at his arms to the point of drawing blood. Loose skin could be seen gathering on the top of his head and under his neck. 6 minutes later, D45872 had lost the ability to speak.
Dude.
Large white pin feathers had sprouted from his arms, covering the skin, and smaller white feathers were beginning to sprout from his face.
Turned into a chicken.
After 16 more minutes passed, D45872 began attacking other objects in the room, attempting to destroy the microwave, knocking the bowl of soup to the floor, and flipping over a table and chair.
Chicken too.
He had grown feathers over 67% of his skin, and his face had begun to change drastically. His nasal area was elongated and hardened, joining with his lower jaw in an appendage resembling a bird's beak. His upper lip had disappeared into his nasal cavity. Only 5 minutes later, D45872 suddenly stopped moving and collapsed to the floor, dead. Following D45872's death, an autopsy was performed.
And he just came over the
These were the findings. Autopsy revealed D45782's cause of death was due to extreme and sudden physical change of internal organs, resulting in shock and cardiac arrest. 93% of the subject's skin was covered in feathers. Physical changes in the face resulted in a beak-like alteration of the nose and mouth. Loose skin under the neck and on the top of the head resemble a wattle and comb. Subject's lower legs were found to be covered in thick, scaly skin, with the toes of the subject's feet ending in small, rounded claws. The subject and instance of SCP-2057-1 were incinerated after testing and autopsy. Whenever not being used for approved experimentation, all cans of SCP-2057 must be stored in a standard, large-volume storage locker in Containment Area 27 and kept at a temperature of 25 degrees Celsius. Because SCP-2057 is in limited supply, all experiments must first be approved by at least 2 personnel with 2-1103 clearance, as well as receiving the go-ahead from Dr. Applegate. There are still 41 cans of Dr. Wondertainment's chicken soup unaccounted for. The Foundation has been unable to track them down so far.
So you better read the labels when you go shopping for chicken noodle soup,
Maybe at another office of Marshall, Carter, and Dark. Or maybe, just maybe, one made its way onto the shelves at your local grocery store.
At your local Winn-Dixie.
Best to be careful out there.
Or Kroger's.
When you're feeling sick, hungry, or in need of a little pick-me-up, there's nothing quite like a steaming hot bowl of chicken noodle soup.
Oh no, vegetable beef pretty good too.
Make sure to read the label carefully and always follow the printed instructions.
Don't forget gumbo.
If you ignore them, you might just find that your chickens have come home to roost. After all, as the saying goes, you are what you eat.
You are what you eat.
Check out the Dr. Bob Patreon.
This was great, man. You gotta love a good story from Dr. Bob, especially one that's it's kind of strange, all at the same time, like with a little bit of mystery, but it turns out to be pretty hilarious and such a quirky SCP. Thumbnail's pretty good too, guys. I hope y'all enjoyed this one, guys. Dr. Bob, make sure to subscribe to him. Subscribe to me if you enjoy reactions, and if you like this video, check this one out.